All right. Well, here we are. We're here. You're here. I'm here. The book is here. And that's all that
Nice.
matters, right? My name is Sierra Melker. I am the founder of Red Thread Publishing. I am joined today by my dear and now sort of long-term friend, Ray Brehm.
That's true.
So, and we've never met in person, but it doesn't matter because that's how the world is now.
Right. That doesn't matter. My best friends are all probably most of my best friends right now I've never met in person. Someday.
It's a new qualification for best friend.
Right.
As long as we never meet in person.
Right. Then we might really get to know. Then we might say, well.
Right. All that being said, we are two of the collaborative authors on our new book, The Anatomy of a Book. We're just hopping on today, celebrating this week. This book is coming out in paperback and ebook, and I love making books with other people because I don't know all the stuff in this book. I even just reread your chapter and I was like, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I've been a reader of your books for a long time. So I only have a couple of quick questions for you. Number one, how many books have you published?
I didn't know this was going to be so difficult. It's
more than 20. It's like 20
it's
something.
more than 20, I guess, at this point.
Okay, cool. We'll keep it simple. Ray's been publishing books forever, and it's awesome. What does it mean for you, Ray, to be a published author? What does that mean?
Well, it was kind of, I think for most of us, it was a lifelong dream to be a published author. And then once you do it, it's like, wow, I could do that again. And I can do that again. And, oh, I've got an idea. And to me, I've evolved to more. Now I come up with a topic. I'm like, well, I can write a short book on that over the weekend to dump all my, the content out of my head. And so it's a great feeling just to have books out there and then hear people, like you just said, hear that people are reading them. And, sometimes I think for us, it's authors like, okay, you publish and you're like, where's everybody? And I've had people I've met in the last 6 months that bought some high ticket stuff from me that they've read my books years ago and they've just been kind of following and tracking along and seeing what maybe, in what ways they might work with me, what ways they work with other people. And so, I think getting the book out there, especially if you're helping people as part of our book, the other authors in that book, if it's some of them, I think some of them, that's their first book, right? So
I would say half of them, it's their first book, even though they're book experts, right? They're book industry experts. They've been helping people write, make covers, edit, do all the back end stuff. This is the first time half of these authors are published authors, right?
Right.
So it's amazing for them. But then the point of the book is for all the readers who want to become published authors too. So
that's a perfect fit too, because obviously the book title, topic, niche, and everything that fits. That's going to be a great business card for everybody on the book, and it's obviously going to be great content for all the readers. And what I love about anthologies is, anytime I promote that book to my audience, I'm promoting you and the other authors too. And every time they promote the book, so we're exposing readers to all the different, people we know. And it's a way that we can all help each other, including the readers, grow in different directions. So, that's the part I love about it.
Well, and it's so there's a couple things that you just shared that make me think. A lot of people think writing and publishing a book is hard. And it is, and it isn't. But I think there's a lot of, we were talking about this just before I hit record, about this like competition of like, if you're doing well, then I can't be doing well. And that if I'm helping you, then that can't be helping me. And that paradigm has no place at all. And
there's a few people
collaborations
that think that way. And I think, some are successful, some are starting out. We talked about that. And I think the ones that are successful, eventually that's going to implode. I mean, the idea that I'm not going to work with I know a couple mainstream type of people in this space that are starting to go down. But the
Well,
whole
and it
point
doesn't
is
even
it's just
have
an
to do with
abundance
that, right?
mentality.
Yeah. It's
It's
just they
abundant.
might be successful, but they might also be miserable.
Right.
We had fun at various stages. There were like some hair pulling moments because I think every book and every creation has those moments of like, but it's fun. It's fun to collaborate. And um, so, yeah, I think being a published author and what it opens up for you of like, what's next? What else can I do? How else can I teach and connect and support and grow a business or whatever the particular mission is?
Well,
Uh,
just stay on that topic for 1 second. I mean, I
yeah.
think that's important too, because there, for newbies coming in, one is like, well, there's already thousands of books published on this, so
Yeah.
I can't do that. And it's like, well, you're unique. You've got your own unique take on things. Yes, you can. But two, getting on even on a book or collaborating with other people that are in your space with overlap. I've been doing that for years now, and it's different online. It's if you plunk a coffee shop next to a Starbucks, a brick and mortar, yeah, there's going to be some tension, you're not going to work together. That's not the same online. I mean,
Right.
it's some people are going to want to buy from you. Some people are going to want to buy from, Sierra. Some people are going to want to buy from me. And they find that by just exposure to everybody else. So I think like even in a book or, I love virtual summits. You might have some people on there that have overlapping offers.
Yeah.
Big deal. And most of the time, they're not going to they may not promote directly to each other's audiences, but they're certainly, if they're abundance minded, they know that they can't serve everybody. Some people are
Yeah.
going to try, I suppose, but they can't serve everybody. But also it works better when you're working together. And that's like the one thing I like about anthologies too is, um, man, it takes a lot more guts for some of these trolls to write a bad review, because they got to criticize 30 other authors. You write your own book, you got some
You want to knock
people.
me? That's fine. You want to knock me and all my friends?
Yep.
Give it a
Yeah,
try.
come on over and bully me now when I got 30 friends here. And that becomes less important, obviously, the more books you write, and you're just going to take heat whenever, I've got somebody from, I guess, Australia just follows me around and writes bad reviews, but it's like, well, quit reading my books if they disturb you so much.
Well,
But
and one
but
of
they
our
won't do it on
authors, right?
anthologies.
I love that. One of our authors said when she got her first like scathing review, she's like, I've made it. Somebody cares enough to rip me apart. That is the accomplishment of an author. And when we're new and we're fragile and we're not sure, it feels really terrifying. I got my first 1-star review the other day and I was like, I've arrived. But
Who
I mean,
says that?
I didn't
Somebody
mean,
says that. Like, if you're not, I think it's some old Roman theologian, but basically, nobody writes bad reviews on people that aren't, important or haven't put
right.
themselves out there. So,
Well, and this is such an important thing when it comes to writing and sharing. If you're trying to please everybody, right? If you're trying to serve everybody, if you're trying to be the one person in the market who's going to like dominate, and then you want everybody to be happy with what you've got, then all of your energy is going into that instead of figuring out who you are and what you have to share and letting it connect with the people who need it and letting it fall flat with other people and letting it piss some people off. That's not the end of the world, right?
I can tell you from experience on the other side that the times when somebody said something, confrontational or kind of the choose a side
Critical.
nature, critical, that drew a lot of flack. When they said it that agreed with me, I became a much stronger advocate of them. So, it's kind of like, do you want kind of everybody being lukewarm, or do you want
Right.
your fans to be, raving
Right.
hot and pumped? And
Yeah.
that can work. That's much more enjoyable, I guess. I mean, taking negative flack is, everybody's different, but
Yeah.
maybe that's not enjoyable. But I tell you what, if you're just looking from a purely financial side, you're much more likely to get sales from the people that believe the same way
Well,
you do.
even though like I love a negative review because it helps people figure out which camp they're in, right? And maybe that's exactly what you're saying. It's like,
Yep.
do you agree with this
Yeah.
rant? Or Cool. Um, I want to talk about your chapter real briefly and get people teased about it. It's near the very end of the book. And so I do want people to get this book, but I also want them to read not just the first couple chapters, because Ray's awesome chapters here near the end. And I'm not going to tell you all about it. And Ray's going to maybe leave some spoilers for later. No spoiler alerts. But there's a line in your book, because you're talking about your book's coming out and the first time you hit bestseller and you're like, oh, I'm golden. All these other people have said that I'm just going to like sit back and, drink Mai Tais for the rest of my life. But then you're like, oh, the money's not coming through. And you had to like dig deeper into the whole approach of writing and publishing and sort of the what else, because once you figured some things out, there's this line, you're like, royalties were much better after I did all this stuff, but it wasn't the end game. And I really appreciate that. You mentioned already that you are working with author summits and helping authors sort of take the book. Again, that the book's not the end game. The royalties aren't the end game. The book is the first step in some other bigger game. So tell us about the game that you play at this
Well, I
moment.
think, and this might be, some people might not like to hear this. Others probably like, oh, thank goodness this is true.
Good. Let's piss
Uh,
some people off, Ray.
right. But the book is just a beginning. So if you're hoping to kind of rest on your laurels there, I mean, that's a difficult prospect. And the thing that's disturbing to me right now is there's quite a few gurus out there that are banking on you believing that when you don't make the royalties you should be making from your book, it's your fault. You need to buy this advertising Amazon ads course or so forth.
The
And
next package, right?
the next
Yeah.
package, and and they've got the you got the ads course. Now you need the sell more books course, and you need and the algorithm changed. That stuff's been really irritating me
Because
lately
I'm
because I've
going
seen
on
more and more of it.
vacation, right? The algorithm changed because I'd like to take a holiday.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazon
Yeah.
changed their terms of service, so I'm going to call that an algorithm change.
Mm,
No, here's the deal. There's 6 million books on Amazon. It's tough, it's tough to get noticed. There's certain things you absolutely should do. You got to research your keywords right, get in the right categories, do all that stuff, get good SEO in your book description, your page, and so forth.
And if you have no idea what Ray is saying right now, I often interrupt you and be like, if you have no idea what he's talking about, please read our book, because by the end of the time you've done that, you will actually understand all the words he just said. Trust me. There was a time when I didn't know any of them either. Didn't mean to interrupt,
Yes,
but I
and
just
right, that's right. I mean, that can be intimidating. It's not once you've done it. That's why the other side of it is done is better and perfect. Get the book out there. You learn what you don't know, and you learn 80% of it just by hitting publish on the first one. And my best selling, most downloaded best selling book is The Author Startup, where it was just like, don't market it, just publish, because people get caught up in like, okay, now I got to figure out the marketing. It's like, no, just get it out there and check that box and feel good about it. And maybe you don't even want to market. But the idea behind my chapter is a lot of people are like, I think there's this incentive, like you're going to make, passive income and lots of money, and you will.
Yeah, you can go buy a hamburger every month.
Right.
That's
It's
awesome.
Like, let's be real here. Because I can go, you and I have talked about this before. I can go look at some well-known author's rank, and I know they're not making that much, a month. Some of the top ones, of course they are. Most of the ones that make money are fiction books, by the way. But all of these business books that they do make some money, some more than others, but they all have back ends. And the sooner you get to a back end.
Yeah. The book is not the moneymaker, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't bring home the bacon or whatever. It's like, so what do you do? And part of that is the other thing that people teach, and this is like, there's, these infinite amount of Facebook advertising agencies and so forth. You can get cold traffic that you don't control. You get Facebook, you're running ads to Facebook people. The only way you can actually communicate with them again is run more ads. Same on Amazon. It's all cold traffic. You've got no control of access to that audience. And that's why you do things like put an opt-in inside your book. But that's also a slow road. And that's why for me, it's virtual summits is just one of the best ways to do it, because some of the things you really need to do to make money online are you need to do something that produces income so you can stay motivated and make it worth your while. The second thing is you want to build an audience, an engaged audience that you have control of access to. And so that's usually in the form of an email list, and you're going to read all kinds of stuff. Email's dead. Completely not true. And I could be like, I could run a business just sending, and in fact, I mostly do now, just sending out emails. The other thing you really need to do, and you touched on it earlier, is connect with influencers and create partnerships. So, if you're just starting out and you've got a book and you want to reach out to somebody who's got a list of 10,000 people, like, can you promote my book? Well, you don't really have much to offer them in return. And not that you should have to have that or necessarily, but that's the way it works. You build relationships by, helping each other. And, when I get people that's basically say, can you do this for me? And, I'm not going to do anything for you. Well, I mean, and
Yeah,
not even in online
that's
business,
not a nice,
even in my personal life, it's kind of like, what?
Especially like, no, why would I do that? I'm not going to rake your lawn.
I mean, it's, I
Like,
guess if
what
it's
for?
family or something, right. But it's like, maybe you do something for me first and I do something back for more, but at least you showed me some interest in that. Well, Virtual Summits does that for other people. You can start with no audience, no email list, not even be an expert in the topic of your summit, because you're going and interviewing experts. And so,
Right.
but for the value to the speakers to come on your summit is they're going to get exposure to all the other speakers' audiences.
Yep.
And so your audience doesn't matter. You could be starting at zero. Your expertise doesn't matter because you're just interviewing people. And if you read Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets, he talks about the 5 stages of being an expert. 1 is dreaming it. 2 is being a reporter. And so stage 2 for everybody is, it's like, well, that's why you should do a summit early on, arguably before a book, but if not, do it with a book or some combination. At least have in your head that part of my business is going to be a book showing my authority and a summit showing my authority, building my audience, connecting with influencers, and then getting somebody to promote your book later. If you made them, if you come on my summit, Sierra, and then you make money by, from the premium pass sales, you get traffic from, other audiences from the summit. Then I come back later and say, hey, would you share my book with your audience in one email?
Of course I would. I'd be happy
we're already
to.
friends.
Right?
We build a relationship. We've talked. So that's a lot different than just what a lot of these guys are teaching, like cold reach out to people and get an endorsement and get them to, it's like, well, let's just build a friendship and let's do some, mutual audience building.
Real relationships.
And so that's why I believe in that. And that's why, having something else to, having another product is part of that.
Right.
And then but building these other pillars, basically those are like the 5 pillars of what I think an online business should be. And you can really, one of the few things that checks all those boxes is a summit.
Yeah.
Now, the great thing is, like, a lot of times people will just, if they're thinking of launching a book, they'll host a summit first, then launch it. And you almost don't have to try with marketing
because you've got this email list of all the people who are like, oh, I love that, what you do. Of course, I'll buy your book for 99 cents. No sweat.
And that week after that summit, that's when you probably hit some pretty high level authority when your book launches and you're doing your whatever social media and stuff. You do the summit and you've just interviewed 20 superstars and you've got a new email list, you're at peak authority and you can pretty much do anything you want. Now, I wouldn't launch a book then. I would do I'd do a high ticket product, maybe the book the week after, or just have the book available, as a sponsor on your summit. But that's the way I think of it.
So I love the conversations that are coming out of just even talking in depth more with the other writers of this book, because there's so many ways to do this. And there's so many things that new authors and even so like aspiring authors and folks who have got a book out have like sort of learned, like you said, they've learned 80% of it. And there's still so many more ways to move beyond the book. But you can't move beyond the book until you've written and published the book. So I love hearing, learning, sharing, because even when you and I, a year and a half ago, started our conversations, we've both shifted, right? And because we're continuously evolving and growing and moving. But And that's my hope. That's our hope for the readers of this book, The Anatomy of a Book, to sort of take, I always say, like, don't take other people's advice, which is maybe a little ironic because I write books that have advice in them, but it's like, look around, but don't just do what you think I've told you to do, because there's your exact way of doing things that's going to be exactly what somebody else needs, right? Whether it's the writing style or the publishing or the marketing, but like, look around, listen, peruse. This is like the buffet of writing, publishing, and marketing. The things that are repeated in here that every author is saying, like, do this, maybe it's because it's important. And there's the things that are like, what about this? And what about this? And what about that? So um, I love collaborating. We've already made that point. And I really appreciate working with you in all the different ways, Ray, that we've gotten to work together. I'm really happy that we have this little book out in the world, and I think it's gonna it's a tool that's really just gonna help more people take that first step. Like you said, write the book so that you can do and figure out what's the next thing for you. Thank you so
I-
much for joining us. What else do you want to say before we sign
I'll
off?
just say that if you're still feeling overwhelmed, get on an anthology, because that's how I started. My very first book, I
Yeah,
paid to be on an anthology with Jack Canfield. And
right,
then when I saw how they launched it, I said, I can do that. And I started learning things. And then people are like, well, how did you do that? And, I started helping people launch,
right.
and then, I've moved to summits, but that's a great way to get your first book out. If you find one that fits what you do and would be a good representative of what you do or what you want to do, like this one,
Yeah,
all the self-publishing people on here, this is perfect, me included, as a business card. And
yeah.
so that's a great way to do it. You just get to focus on one chapter and sharing
It's
your
the
knowledge
bite
and wisdom.
size. It's the bite size way to make that first big leap. And I don't think I've ever told you this, but it's because you published with Jack Canfield that I was like, oh, I'm watching. What's this? So the investment you made ages ago helped you do all the things, but it also, like, the ripples, we don't know what's going to come. We don't know who's watching, who's waiting for the third book to come out, or the whatever, but they're there. And but we do have to keep showing up, right? We have to just keep being who we are. The right people will come. um, but I love anthologies. I was in one of yours. It's still doing super well a year later. um, and yeah,
I mean, it's just
magic
on our
happens.
organic overdrive as being part of that series, and just we keep getting
It's part of a
reviews and
series. There's
reviews, and
lots
I'm
of,
like,
yeah, and
I
lots
know
of people have contributed, and so everyone's sharing about their book that feeds into the series, that then feeds into the, it's this collective momentum that we're all benefiting from. Because I always say this, it's like, it's better together. It's like, don't, it could be hard. You could take the hard road, or you could take the fun road. So
it's yeah. I think, like you're saying, and then there's this association with the other authors, and somebody knows one of them, and they're like, oh, I just ran into Sierra, and she was on this book with so and so, who I know, like, and trust. Uh,
no,
and
and
I
like, and yeah, exactly.
and I've had somebody just recently bought a very high ticket program from me, who said, don't, don't stop doing your little stuff, because that's how I found you. I found, and she had
Yeah,
been on my list for 3 years before buying anything, but she had done something
awesome.
else, bought something else where I was
Yep.
inside of that, opted in, and just watched for a while until the right thing came
Yeah,
up. So that's how you
perfect.
start, and just
I love
getting your
it.
name out there.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us, as always. Really appreciated your chapter. Make sure, read to the end, raise chapters near the end. It's fantastic. Talk to you all soon, and pre-order or download your book today.